Have you ever had your trust broken? Have you ever had it so where you went, that rocked me? I have.
If you've been disappointed, maybe you've misjudged the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we can get often disappointed by people because we didn't trust our intuition enough.
Yeah.
There's always red flags.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Arlene is Alone. And today I am speaking with Sophie Grégoire, who, Sophie, I'm like, I can't tell you, I really look forward to all my interviews, but you in particular, I've had like a little bit of anxiety about, a little bit of
no anxiety.
I know, a little bit of like, because I want to have a different type of conversation than maybe you've had. And I also want to have a conversation because I think what you've done in terms of your roles as a human, as a wife, as a mother, as a Canadian, as a, as an author, just wrote the great book, Closer Together. You need to go buy it. It's a fantastic book and we're going to talk about it.
Thank you.
But just in general, it can be intimidating to talk to other strong, powerful women. And not that I get intimidated easily, but just a little bit anxious, wanting to make sure we had a good conversation.
And you and I are like right before, like we were saying, it's so important as women who are courageous. And you don't have to be well known. There's courageous women everywhere in this world and in this country. We have to have each other's backs.
Right.
We have to enlarge the circle of sisterhood because I would say that the health of our democracies and families depend on it, on how we hold each other.
But that, I think we say that, and women in particular say that, but not all the women do that. I find that a lot of women can be very down-putting in terms of support. It seems like the opposite of what they should be doing. Have you ever had that in your life where you haven't had the kind of support you wanted?
I was a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Once. So of course, we grew up in a culture where there's competition and you have to perform and be the best. And so I remember those years where I was always like, when I was younger, because I was super intrepid in sports, I was really close to guys because I liked the way they operated and they were like intrepid and courageous. But I also really liked my girlfriends. As I age, now I'm 50, the circle of sisterhood is everything. Yes. I think that tribe is so important.
Smaller.
Yes. But I have two boys, right? I have an 11-year-old and an 18-year-old. And I love men. I love guys. I love hanging out with them. And I want also my daughter and my boys to be able to have long-term friendships with the opposite sex and nourish them as if they're part of the family. I was raised that way and it served me up until now. And I think that, we're creatures of connection. We need this sense of belonging in our groups, right?
It's true. It's true. And maybe in the business world, I've noticed that there's women can be sometimes, so it's so hard for us to get to the top that there can be a protectionism that happens once you're there. And it's not always the most welcoming and inviting in business in particular, I've noticed. Not always, but, I've seen there's lots of women who I'm very close to as well. But I think because I grew up around men as well, and my business world was mostly men, I relate more to men. It sounds like you kind of do too, like you have.
Now I relate differently. I think that when we compete with each other and we move from that space, I think that's a space of insecurity. I think when you're secure and you feel coherent in who you are, how you act, you don't feel threatened by others. Therefore, you're welcoming, right? But this is it's a lifelong journey of learning how you're constructed, why you have the personality that you do. Do you feel threatened by the presence of others, yes or no? When I wrote the book, there was a psychologist, Rosemarie Charest, she's like 40 years of practice or more. And she said, Sophie, the most unhappy human beings I've ever met are the ones who cannot trust in others.
It's very true.
Think about the state of the world right now, of schools, of organizations, of companies, of society in general. If we can't trust in the other, we're going counter nature to how we're really meant to be in this world. And it's to trust. To be discerning. And we have this brain that wants to get away from the saber-toothed tiger, right? Our 200,000-year-old brain wants to get away from that and seek comfort. But when it comes to relationship, like my radar is on right now, your radar is on right now. And the fact that we're eye-gazing is relaxing our nervous system. But we're losing this. We're losing it in diplomacy. We're losing it in organizations, in schools, because of screens. We're like living so fast. We're always distracted. we don't take the time to be in silence, we're not in connection with nature. So we're losing this.
I mean, I love that. I also think, like your point on nature, that we don't get out in nature enough. It sounds like you grew up in nature or in your backyard with your dad and doing all the things you did. But, and I want to just come back to what you just said about we can get into, your self-esteem issues. I know you've spoken very publicly about your bulimia and the challenges you've had kind of with body dysmorphia. How did you overcome that? Like, first of all, why did you think it happened in the first place?
Yeah, well, now I understand that when we talk about addiction, like I'm going to ask you a question right now. Arlene, can you think of a little habit that you have that gives you temporary relief when it happens? Like, right? Mm-hmm. But in the mid or long term, it's not great for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like reaching for chocolate.
Whatever it is. We all
I'm good at that.
Me too. Or that glass of wine at 5:30, whatever it is. We're not perfect, right? Yeah. And everything's okay in moderation. But we all have little behaviors that give us temporary relief, but in the long term aren't really good for us or sometimes the people around us. Right. That's the definition of an addiction. Right. Okay? So the one sentence that I've been sharing and sensing for so long is we're all one trauma away from each other. It takes one dramatic life event, one accident, one grief, one loss, one whatever it is. And you just start treating yourself differently. You see the world differently. And then I think that as a child, I really internalized all the pressures in my family as an only child. And there was addiction on both sides of my family in different ways. And so I wore the cape of wanting to save my dad from himself, save my mom from my dad, save my mom from herself. That's not a cape that a child should wear. Yeah. And this is not to say, I had bad parenting. My parents were amazing and they were loving. People think, I wasn't abused. I had a perfect life, so everything's perfect. No. Mm-hmm. Trauma is not just something really bad that's happened to you. It can be something that you needed that never took place. Right. There's no perfect parent. There's no perfect human being. Therefore, we have to look at our reality and the way that we see the world, the way that we treat each other, the way that we treat ourselves in a more discerning lens. And that's called emotional literacy and emotional maturity. And most adults were never taught this. Mm-hmm. Were you taught this in school?
No, I mean, in fact, I'm, thinking back on, the challenges of whether it's, always being insecure about your physicality, always being insecure about your, the words that are coming out of your mouth. Are you saying them the right way? I think this is very true for women in particular, where we're very conscious of our appearance and very conscious of saying things that actually sound powerful, but yet not. Somehow, being powerful, but you can't be too powerful.
Not too powerful,
right? Yeah. And it's just so wrong. Like, why can't we be more powerful?
Well, that's such a big question, because what I see, and I've worked with a lot of young people and self-esteem, and from the culture that I'm seeing right now, women and girls are being rewarded for not being authentic. Mm-hmm. Change your appearance. Don't age. Body should look like this. Filters, performance, popularity. And this is all counter nature. So here's the tricky part. Society and culture rewards us. Oh, look at her. She hasn't aged a bit. Oh, look at her. How many likes she has or whatever it is, right? There's always pervasive little rewards, which your brain understands as, if I do this and I get rewarded, I will repeat that behavior, right? But authenticity, what does it mean to live an authentic life? What does it mean to be your true self? I have chills when I talk about this because millions of women are suffering. Mm-hmm. And being authentic means not changing your behavior. Appearance is included in there to fit a mold or to please. We all do it.
Except for to please yourself.
So here's the biggest lie. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that.
No, I've done it. Okay, well, let's talk about that because I've done it.
We're not judging.
No, I'm not. I don't feel judged. But I'm saying I understand it because when I did it, it really was for myself. It was about my own self-acceptance of what I saw in the mirror versus what I wanted to see. And not because I cared about what other people thought, because I actually didn't. I cared what I thought. And I had the self-tape that was constantly going on in my head around the fact that I wasn't somehow good enough for myself.
Okay. Okay. But you don't live alone in a cabin in the woods. So that message was perpetually sent to you since your childhood, through magazines, through pornography, through men's comments on women, through the fact that aging is disgusting, right? All those messages, like no 6-year-old girl comes out into the world being told, I just want to tell you, my love, that, when you're a little bit older, you're probably going to open your chest and put, saline and bags in there to feel more beautiful about yourself. Or you'll be putting needles in your skin so you'll never age, because that's not pretty. If the reverse message you had received your whole life, aging is stunning. Men love aging women. They think they're filled with maturity and sexiness. If the message was completely the opposite, do you think that your brain as growing up would have wanted what we do to ourselves to not look the way we do?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. And I think that's true. I think we are a product of the society's, norms and what they push on us in terms of marketing and the views of what a beautiful woman is. And I think it's also generational. My age, I grew up where, Twiggy was like, this was what you wanted.
But we had Kate Moss,
right?
For my generation.
Exactly. You had Kate Moss. I had Twiggy. It was like the thinner you were, the more androgynous you were, you were the most beautiful. And then suddenly, big hips, hippie people, having curves came in. And then suddenly it was no lips and big lips and no eyebrows and eyebrows and, long hair, then short hair. Then it is horrible. And so I want to kind of go back to the bulimia side for you, because you've got a daughter. How do you help her deal with kind of her self-worth?
The biggest lesson I've ever integrated is that you can talk to your kids all you want, but it's how you treat yourself.
When you're, that age, you're going through so much at school, you're going through so much with your peers, you're dealing with wanting to fit in, because I think that's just human nature, that you want to be, it's tribal. We want to belong to the tribe. We want people to accept us into the tribe. And so how do you help her? Because I think there's a lot of people going to be watching this who have children who are wanting to understand how they can work with their kids to help them feel more empowered to be who they are.
It's a great question, because so in the book, I talked to one of our greatest child psychologists, Dr. Gordon Neufeld, and parenting is not a role, it's a relationship. So tell me what relationship works when one is controlling and the other one is receiving. It doesn't work. Now, does it mean that I don't tell my kids to go wash their clothes and make their bed? No, of course I do, right? I'm the mom. But the way that they see me deal with myself, they see me navigate my own world, my own obstacles, my own, path of joy and suffering, the way I treat other people, the way I move, the way I take care of myself, the way I feed myself. They're looking and they're integrated at every step. So I could tell my daughter, don't put any importance on what people think about you. But how do I act?
Right.
Does she see me always looking in the mirror, focusing on my appearance and always weighing myself and talking about diets? Well, I hope not, because that sends her the true message, right? So the work that I do as a woman, intrinsically, deeply, is my message to her, because she sees me going out in the universe. So if there's no coherence there, or if you're telling your daughter, oh, love, be authentic, be who you are, but you're constantly trying to change yourself and you don't love yourself, well, then it's incoherent.
That's interesting. That fascinates me, because I would say that I'm guilty as a parent of wanting my kids to not make the same mistakes that I've made.
We all are, by the way.
And to not feel what I've felt.
Me too.
And so I would say, don't feel this way, even though I'm doing the exact opposite of what I'm saying. Because I am kind of now who I am. But so I do, it's interesting to think about it. Like they are a reflection of us, but there is this level of please do as I say, not as I do, because we don't want them to make the same mistakes.
But this goes back again to emotional literacy. I am teaching my daughter and my sons, but in different ways, right? They all have different personalities. Right. To be emotionally literate. What does this mean? To be conscious of how you act and react and why. So sometimes we lose patience, right? We're human beings. So I don't know. I know that I'm going to get into an argument with my son or whatever. And I'm like, okay, let me pause right now, because I'm not receiving you the way I should and I'm not calm. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to come back to this conversation. I go in the bathroom. I lock myself in. Whatever needs to be done. I breathe. I see, why am I triggered right now? I'm a mature adult. Why am I triggered? I go back into the conversation. I'm ready to receive. I don't feel threatened by what, sometimes we're humans. Somebody's going to say something and you feel your body flushing, your hands starting to shake, or your heartbeat starting to rise. your body is always giving you the first signs of where you are in the moment.
Can you overanalyze yourself? Do you think, is it possible to overthink, because some of those raw emotions, I think you're thinking them and feeling them for a reason. So can we get to a place where we're overanalyzing our reactions?
I think so. Over analyzing, yes, maybe, because you're always engaging your left brain, which is more your mathematical, cognitive brain. So we can analyze our emotions all we want, but you're right. If we just keep analyzing them without taking action, like sometimes you're like, okay, I have to think about my new, I don't know, exercise regimen or my new working schedule. At some point, you got to do something in order for your emotions to change.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went to, I saw a psychologist at one point for a fair amount of time, and it was an interesting experience for me because I really, wanted to understand myself more effectively, and I wanted to think about my reactions to life and how I could be a better person. And some of the things that the psychologist taught me, I listened to them, I absorbed them, I wanted to believe them, but they actually just weren't right for me.
A lot of people will say this. So cognitive behavioral therapy, right, called CBT, is like you're sitting on a chair and it's you're talking, right? And it can be very effective for you to find out your pattern of behavior. But then at some point, talk is great, but you need to release it through the body.
Is this why you wrote the book?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I found out that through my own journey of, because I suffered from eating disorders and I wanted to understand, why is this happening to me? I seem to have it all. Come on. We have to dig deeper, right? So I think that my own learning experiences brought me to more questions. And I'm a curious human being. So I wanted to, I started in my 20s to research my own condition, and now I'm 50 and I feel like I'm just starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that you're doing the self-work on yourself. I mean, you have just maybe on a more personal side, because I'm really fascinated by this. I am in the public eye. I am not in the public eye the way you were in the public eye. You were under such a microscope for so long. And I guess there's two questions that come to mind as you're talking. One is, what's it like to be a single mom after all of that? Like, how do you, because now I was a single mom and I still am. My kids are adults now, but I know that I went through this whole kind of sense of adequacy and being able to do enough for my kids and be there all the time, even when I couldn't be. Like, how are you finding that?
I'm definitely not a single mom.
Yeah.
I have a partnership with a father who has such deep love and availability to his children. Obviously, in politics, everything changes. Right. Your schedule changes. You're very often gone from the house. And now I see public service so differently because I know what it entails and the sacrifices that it entails. So no family will say, oh, yes, politics are so easy to navigate. No. And especially in the world that we live today, the scrutiny, the speed at which things are happening, you're constantly reacting, knowing that when you go out there, the partner and the man that you love and your kids, they're under physical and psychological stress and safety issues. That's hard to face as a family. So I can't say that I'm a single mom because we've raised these kids together.
You're co-parenting.
Yeah.
But you still have moments where you're, if Justin's on the road somewhere and you're facing a parenting challenge, you still are the one that's there sometimes.
For sure, but we call each other up. We'll text each other like, hey, like, I know you're not here, but this is what's going on. We really try to build cohesion so that the kids feel that cohesion. And sometimes it's not convenient. Yeah. Like you're in a meeting, I'm in a meeting, right?
He's on a date, you're on a date. No, but true, right?
I wish.
Okay, well.
Funny. One of my girlfriends is always joking. You say, single, trilingual, and ready to mingle. That's your line. That's very funny.
But it's true, right? You could be you're living your lives still, but you're not always together anymore, right?
No, of course. We have separate lives, but we have one family life, right? And I think that we need two individuals in a couple or trouble, I don't know what your thing is, right? No judgment, but whatever. But We're not talking about
anything's
this today.
possible.
We're not talking about this today. Yeah. But as Canadians, we're very open-minded.
Yes, that's
whatever. To each his own. But as a couple, I think that you need two to tango. You need a common conscious decision of our family is our greatest creation, and we're going to feed it together, no matter if we're on different life paths.
Yeah.
Right?
And, I mean, it's very adult.
Yeah.
It's
not always easy to live, but it's very adult.
It's good to say it's very adult, and it's very, it isn't always easy to live because, I don't know, like and Sophie, if you don't want to talk about it, that's cool. But like, I sometimes do think about you. I think about the publicity and the publicness of what Justin is doing, for example, right now, right? Like, like that's public, and that's got, I don't know how you stay cool. Like, I just don't know how you stay cool. And I really admire it because I would probably not be that way,
We're human beings.
Yeah.
And stuff affects us.
Yeah.
Normal.
Yeah.
How you react to stuff is your decision.
Yeah.
So I choose to try to listen to the music instead of the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very aware that a lot of public stuff out there can be triggers, right? We're humans.
Right.
What I do with it is my decision.
Right.
The woman I want to become through this is my decision. Does it mean that I don't have emotions, that I don't cry, scream, laugh? No. Especially that I'm a super tender heart, right?
Yeah.
But it's my decision after that. Between the emotion and the reaction, right? I let myself feel. I'll let myself be disappointed by someone. I'll let myself be angry, be sad. And I know for a fact how important it is as a mental health advocate to feel those emotions.
Right.
Like, right? But then what?
I think acknowledging that there's moments where you go, this is not what I wanted to see, or not what I want to have in my life, or not, I don't enjoy whether it's the picture on the yacht or whatever the hell it is out the restaurant. I would find that really, I don't know, like, and as you talk, Sophie, I think, why she's right. She can just go, this isn't great, but I'm living my life and I'm happy doing that. And he's doing his life and he's happy doing that. And it's okay to react, but it's not okay to stay in a reactive mode. I think that's what you're saying, right? You can react, but you can't.
You can stay in that reactive mode.
Can you?
But you'll suffer the consequence.
Yes.
Your stress levels are going to be up the roof. You're going to become more and more judgmental because that's a loop as well.
Right.
And, I'm also learning at 50 that people will do and will meet life as where they are inside of them.
Fair.
Is it frustrating sometimes?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
At work, at play, in love,
Yes.
whatever, in friendship, right?
Yeah.
But then it's your choice to see that and be like, how am I going to let that affect my happiness? And it doesn't mean that you're perfect. It doesn't mean that you don't feel all those big emotions. But at the end of the day, when you go to bed, what did I do in this case to take care of myself?
Yeah.
And to be my best parent? I think this is what we're all trying to do in some way.
Parenting yourself.
Yeah. To be our best parent.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we didn't have good parents or whatever. I don't know what your situation is. Maybe that's the case as well. But I think that as we're maturing, we're trying to be more patient, more tender. Like when you're in your bedroom and nobody's watching.
Michelle's like 100% of the time.
Arlene is not alone. But here's the thing. I find that in our society, we've weaponized loneliness. And it's hijacking our human right to solitude. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in nature from 0 to 5, always tousled hair everywhere, playing in dirt. It was freedom for me, right? And now we're raising kids where we're over-towering. Oh my God, they fall off their bike. It's the end of the world. They climb a tree. No, be careful. It's dangerous. No. That period of life between 6 and 10 is so important for children to build kind of like a low risk, low cost luxury of childhood, right?
Right.
You fall off your bike, you get back on, it's fine. The brain is like, okay, I can create these neural pathways where I become more resilient because I know that the cost of it is not the end of the world. But when we don't allow ourselves or our children to not experience that playfulness and that low risk, low cost experience of childhood, how do they deal with the high risk, high cost of adulthood after.
Do you find that your kids sometimes are the parent to you? Like, because sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
I try for not, I'm very discerning of that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be like, my daughter will be holding me. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you.
Right.
Or she'll ask me how I'm doing. And of course I'll say, but I'm like, how are you doing?
Right.
Let me take care of you. I do have that predisposition. I'm a little bit of a lioness, mama.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes I have to check myself because I don't believe that our children should be responsible for our emotions. I really do not believe that. I think that's our responsibility. Does that mean that I can't be vulnerable? No. I think it's important to show vulnerability because this is one of the biggest things I'm learning. There's no authenticity without vulnerability.
Do you think your kids are in your shadow at all as a result of that, though? Like,
I hope not.
Yeah. Well, but they have to, like, I think about that for my kids. And like I said, I don't have as big a public life as you do, but I often watch my daughters and my sons. Like, I think they feel like they're my kids, like they're identified as my children as opposed to their own people. And that's got to be hard on them.
Listen, my own son says it. I don't want to be known as the son of.
Yes.
I want to be Zav. I want to be good for him.
Yes.
I mean, the pressure is really big when you have parents who are in the public eye. But here we go. I might become emotional when I say this, but this is how I feel looking at the world. And I've had the privilege to see it under so many different angles. Yeah. I love humans and I love poetry. And David Whyte wrote, "Innocence is one's capacity to be found by the world. Innocence is one's capacity to be found by the world." I hope I give enough love and faith in our humanity to my kids so that they can feel that they belong. People right now, there is an erosion of trust. There is a sense of deep loneliness because people don't feel like they belong anymore. Whatever Sophie and last names are and titles and what I've done in my life or what you've done in your life, all the accolades that we get or the awards, blah, blah. Excuse me, but it's all a bit of an illusion. Let all of that go and deconstruct, fall into a million different pieces. Who's left?
And who is left with you? Like I'll tell you, you can ask me the same question, but who is, when you strip away, you're so articulate, you're so well informed, you've got like, I'm really impressive to me, purpose in life. You really do feel very purposeful about who you want to be and how you want to live your life and how you, and what you're willing to accept and not. But if you strip it all away and you go back to that kid with a bulimia, like, who are you? How would you classify yourself?
So when you say, and you go back to that kid with the bulimia, the bulimia wasn't that kid.
Yeah.
It was my attempt to find soothing in any way I could as a survival mechanism. I'm a loving, playful human being who trusts in others. That's who I am. That's Sophie.
Yeah.
Take away the Sophie name even. Who's left?
Yeah.
I belong to you like you belong to me. I'm here today because you are here today. Yeah. So I've met celebrities, I've met kings and queens, I've met people with no titles, no nothing. It's all a delusion, Arlene.
It's very true.
It's a mental construct, and we believe in it with everything that we are.
But there's no there.
No, I have chill again.
Yeah.
From crown of the head to my little toes. I don't believe, it's not how I want to live, Arlene.
Yeah, I think that's very brave, and it's very true, because the more you meet people, I haven't met as many kings and queens for sure, but I have met, presidents and very important people, and you strip it all away and you go, you're just a person. You get up every day and put your pants on one leg at a time, and you go to the bathroom the same way I do, and all those things, right? You have the same challenges, but it's so hard not to elevate you and to be elevated, but in particular with you, Sophie, I think to elevate you and to worry and wonder what you're going through, because I feel like just listening to you, your playfulness shows, because you sing, in places. You
I'm very mischievous. People don't know this.
You can tell you've got this side to you that's very full of life, which
Aliveness.
Aliveness. And I think full of aliveness in today's world is hard to do because it is so oppressive out there right now. How are you navigating what's going on in the world?
So imperfectly.
Yeah.
I have my bad days. I have a personality who tends to be anxious. That's like we all have an attachment style, right? But you're right. I do have this aliveness in me, this fire, this love that in some ways it's boundless.
And you don't find that the world today is in any way tampering that down? Because I do. I find it hard to stay. I'm an optimist. I am like a cup half full, make it happen. Yeah. The world is going to be okay.
Well, there's no way you would have succeeded the way you did, and you do, if you were a pessimist.
No, I am not a pessimist. I'm definitely an optimist. But some people would say that's gullible or naive. But I find it harder to hold on to that optimism given the constant negativity. And when I think about our kids, in my case, my grandkids, and they're growing up in this world of thinking this is normal. They think this is normal because this is what they know, right? They think this is what it is. And so I worry about future generations. So when you think about your book and, why you wrote what you wrote and thinking about, mental health. Mental health is under such huge attack right now, and it's under a particularly huge attack for our younger generations. How do we solve that? Given all the knowledge you've got right now from everything you've done and learned, how do we fix the 20-year-old kid? Not fix. How do we help the 21-year-old male that's feeling disenfranchised? The 20-year-old woman who feels like she's a failure, and with DEI being, going away. Like, how do you help them?
That's a huge question. Yeah. I think I would answer it in three different segments. The first one is teach emotional literacy and self-regulation techniques to primary school. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Essential. Mm-hmm. First base. Then creating structures, organizations, governments, and schools where we validate people's point of view and feelings. So whatever it is, even if you don't agree with it, first validate it. I'm sorry you feel this way. I see you. Mm-hmm. I feel you. Mm-hmm. Even if you disagree with it. Mm-hmm. Because when people don't feel seen and validated, that creates a chronic stress that people are carrying with them in everyday life.
Right.
And the last thing is community. We're talking about how we work on ourselves. Yes, super important. You got to know how you function as a human being. From your neurobiology, you have to know what's happening with your personality and why you act and react the way you do. But that pyramid that Abraham Maslow, the father of modern psychology, put together, and the first ones is obviously, food on your table, roof over your mouth, emotional safety. Mm-hmm. Safety is everything. If you don't have that, it's game over.
Back to trust.
Exactly. So that third pillar is create a sense of belonging and community.
Okay, that's really good advice. But if trust is at the core of it, and not all of it, but a big piece of it. Have you ever had your trust broken? Have you ever had it so where you went, that rocked me? I have. I had my husband, ex-husband cheat on me. I've had all sorts of things like that where I had trust completely thrown away. And it was very hard for me to trust again. It still would probably, I would say it's hard sometimes for me to trust. Have you had?
Well, you're bringing me where I sense I should be going, to be honest, and to your question is, if you've been disappointed, maybe you've misjudged the other. Mm-hmm. And I think that we can get often disappointed by people because we didn't trust our intuition enough. Yeah. There's always red flags.
There is always red flags.
And sometimes we don't want to see them. Why? Because we protect ourselves, because we don't want to be left alone. I also think that, life is not a private affair. We think we're so different. We're so unique. We're going through our own kinds of troubles. Most humans are going through very similar troubles. And we don't have the same words for them, but they're really similar. Yeah. People separate, people divorce, people come back together. But we also have very limited language for relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think that's not mature. I think that the way we perceive our families, our community, it's so restrictive, yeah? Mm-hmm. And that our kids are seeing that, and that's very dramatic.
Yes.
We're very dramatic.
It creates its own construct, right?
Truth requires no drama.
Yeah.
Truth requires no drama.
Right.
Gossip does.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to play that.
You don't want to play that game. But is it gossip or is it truth? And that's kind of what I was trying to get to.
Well,
which is
that's tough to
to
discern, right?
That's tough to discern.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question, like completely off the throat. When you met Queen Elizabeth, right? And you like, what was that like? Come on, that's not gossip. I'm just actually curious. Like, I would be shaking in my boots. Even though I'm not intimidated by celebrity or by position, but she was such a strong woman.
She's a woman who saw history.
She was
in
crazily
so
strong.
many different periods of history with so many different leaders. There was a deep sense of presence.
Yeah.
She was there when you were there.
Yeah. She held her role so well. Think about when she was raised. Think about the generation she grew up in. Right?
In a way, it's like there's a feeling that she adapted to different eras with different cultures.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of openness.
Yeah.
In an institution that is
Closed.
Yeah.
Closed.
I mean, kudos for whoever can navigate that with grace and I would say adaptation.
So after the book Closer Together, which please go buy and read it because it's a fantastic book. And there's so much that Sophie has dug into with experts in the field of mental health, with understanding kind of how we can navigate our own personal challenges and, sharing some of her story along the way. It's fantastic. But after that and your workshops, what's next for Sophie? What are we going to see next from you?
What's not next?
Come on, is there something you want to do?
Well,
accomplish?
I'm working on a documentary. I'm not adverse to going back in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Yeah, and you're good at it.
I love that community and I just thrive. I absolutely love it. I really want to extend my Closer Together community. I want to make sure that we enlarge the circle of where people feel safe and that there's like an almost benevolence, that people feel like they're taken care of, they're seen, they're validated. I hope that my life can serve to nourish that circle.
You're good at that. You know what you've got? You've got an amazing ability to connect with people. Thank you. You really do. And we have been looking at each other in the eyes a lot.
But you can't fake that.
No, you can't fake that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that, I started off saying how I was anxious about sitting down with Sophie. Sophie, I feel like I've made a friend.
Yay!
I do.
My hands are so cold.
Yeah, your hands are cold.
Warm.
I know. I'm all postmenopausal. You are always hot. Okay.
Yeah.
It never gets better. But I know we kind of took this far-ranging conversation, but I appreciate you. Canada, tell me what you think about Canada, just in closing. What's your feeling of Canada right now and what's happening in our country?
First of all, it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think we should be very careful as to criticizing each other. Mm-hmm. I think we are still sitting on the potential of celebrating diversity as our biggest strength. I think that our true nature as Canadians is we have each other's backs, is let's go help our neighbor, right? We're known throughout the world for our joie de vivre, for our
acceptance.
For our acceptance. Yeah. I love that you chose that word, not tolerance, acceptance. Very different. Yes. I have chills again. You're giving me chills. I think I love this country so much. Yeah. And to be in service to each other is our core responsibility. But for that, we have to make sure that we vote, that we take care of each other, and that we're very discerning. Is fear and a sense of division at the base of my choice, or is it trust and belonging? Mm-hmm. Because those give out very different inputs.
Oh, I love that. That is incredibly well said. I hope wherever you are in your journey in life, whether you're alone, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're thinking about who you are, whether you're struggling with mental health issues, that this conversation with Sophie has helped you. I know it's helped me. So thank you so much.
And you're never alone, ever.
You're never alone. I am never alone. I always have somebody with me. Okay, thanks, Sophie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.